What made you decide you wanted to become a welder?
It was just something I had when I was a kid. I mean, I don't know where I got it from. I get to play with fire all day and get paid to do it. Don't have nobody over my shoulder trying to correct me on some paper. I get to get my hands on pipe and get to actually build America one pipeline at a time. My name is Dickinson. I'm from Wyoming and I graduated in 2023.
What are you working on and where are you currently at?
Right now, I'm working on an underwater pipeline. I'm working on out here in Seattle, Washington, Lake Union. There's a bunch of dry docks out here that have a bunch of exhaust ports and oil platforms. I'm welding on top side. I'm welding probably 24-inch flanges, slip-on flanges, and then I'm dropping them in the water, bolting them up, and hooking them out that way.
Yeah, sounds like you're staying busy.
It's the only way you make money out here.
Right. I don't know if you know this or not, but big water is like the only thing that scares me. So lakes, maybe not too bad. I have put on a hat a couple times and I am just not a fan of being underwater.
Someone else is in control of your life the
Right.
entire time.
Yeah, I know. I went down to Ocean Corp down in Texas and they put the hat on the guy, first guy to go, and then they forgot to turn their air on. The guys just started freaking out. They're like, "There's no screaming involved in that. There's no, there's no
No
air,
one hears you.
no screaming."
That's where you gotta. I mean, that's where the training comes in. Don't
Right,
got air, bust that EGS open, but
right. Well,
yeah,
yeah, but we're
no,
just a bunch of freaking cowboys. They're just letting us give it a shot. And I don't know. They said, "Here, put this on and get in the water." I said, "All right, sounds good." So I'm gonna be real honest. If I ever get the opportunity to do it again, I'll probably pass.
what I wasn't ready for was black water. I'm not scared of the dark on surface, but when I get under there, I was probably 80, 85 feet under the water.
Right,
And sun doesn't like to penetrate real well after about 40 feet.
right,
So yeah, it's kind of a tight one. You can't see nothing. It's all
for sure. What is the most money you've made in a week?
ooh in a week, probably like $2,500 to almost 3 grand if you don't take taxes out.
Right, right. Shoot, yeah. That's pretty good money. How old are you?
19.
Yeah, 19, making almost 3 grand a week take home. That's pretty good. There's probably a whole lot of not a whole lot of 19-year-olds out there making 25 to $3,000 a week.
No, no, not a lot.
We preach worth ethic, accountability, and integrity at Western Welding Academy. How important are those things out in the field?
I would say in the real world, the first one's always safety. Everyone kind of bypasses safety, but after safety, those are the three things that keep you in a job.
Right.
Period. If you don't got work ethic, you're not going to show up on time. You're not going to do your job that you're told. You ain't going to be on that job. I've seen grown men show up and get kicked off the same day. Like they
Right.
literally took their test, passed their test, went to go weld, and then caught lip with the foreman or whatever, and out they go.
Yeah, worth ethic is a huge part of it, especially as a young welder. I'm sure you've noticed that. You definitely can't be afraid to pick up a broom.
And own your mistakes. Like
Right.
like I said, we're human. You gotta own everything, whether it was right or wrong.
Right. Yeah, it kind of falls back into the accountability part. If you say you're going to do something, you just make sure it gets done. And if it can't get done, somebody needs to know, hey, these are my hangups.
Yeah, you need to either get a hand or have somebody help you or whatever needs to be done to get the course of action. Especially out there, you'll see guys that are like, oh, I don't pick up brooms. I just got out of welding school. I don't well, I'm just a welder.
Right. It's
No one's
not
just a welder. No
right.
one's just a welder.
Yeah. Nobody's just a welder except for the 65-year-old man standing in the corner. And he's
But he's
probably
earned
earned
that.
it. Yeah. How important is networking with your classmates and instructors from Western Welding Academy?
Pretty important if you want to stay in welding. I mean, some of my guys I graduated with, they're out in the field right now. They're doing pipeline out in Texas and lower Wyoming and Afton. I mean, it really keeps your job options way open. One company shuts their doors, you can always give your buddy a call. I mean,
Right.
people are all hiring, so
Right.
it just gives you more avenues to travel down
Yeah. How
for
many
sure.
students were on third shift when you showed up? Do you remember?
Yeah, there was probably about 60, a little like 58, 60 of us.
Yeah. How many
On
your graduation day? Do you remember how many students graduated that day?
five.
Five of you. Yeah. So we
Yep.
run, everybody, I think when you came to school, everybody started on a Monday and then everybody graduated on Friday, but you can work at your own pace. So that's a huge benefit for our students here. Just because you start with somebody doesn't mean you're going to graduate with them either. So
No, I
you get
didn't. I only graduated with one kid I started with, but that's because he kept up with me.
right. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, that's hugely beneficial as far as if you do run through the course in 3 months or 4 months or 5 months, you get to meet all these other guys that are still working on it too. It's not like you're the lower classman in high school. Everybody might have started off on beads on plate, and everybody's pretty willing to help you.
The help is there. You just got to ask for it. If your ego is too big to say, I don't know what I'm doing, or I don't know what's going wrong if you're getting impurities in your weld and it's not staying or something,
Right.
that's your fault.
What specifically made you choose Western Welding Academy over other schools?
I chose Western personally because I lived in Wyoming for one, but I also got a bunch of scholarships coming out to your guys' competitions and stuff. You guys had a lot of experience in the shop itself, like within the instructors. I mean, you guys have well over almost 100 and some years of experience altogether. You can't beat that even going to work. You go get on a job site, you might have one old head that's been there for 20 years, but you got 14 instructors you can talk to at almost any point in the day if you want to.
Yeah, when you were in school, we were doing 3 shifts. Now we're down to two, but like we have, I want to say 16 instructors between the 2 shifts. So I know people are always complaining about the turnover rate, which really isn't that bad, especially for a trade school. Yeah, we might have thought we were ready to leave the field, but then ended up jumping back in because it is a lot of fun and it's hard to pass up that big money.
It is, and I understand that too. Going like even being in the field, like in the field for, I was only in there for a year and a half before I jumped out and kind of went underwater with it. But I'm going back as soon as I can. I mean, once I make money in underwater, I'll jump back on the pipeline because you can do that till you die.
What were some of your highlights while you were at school here?
Ooh, highlights at Western. I'd say we got to play with that big stinger where we hooked it up. I think it was to two of our big old welders outside.
Yeah, the 2 600s outside, hooked it up to that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty cool. I don't know. I just enjoyed Wyoming, really. I mean, it's home.
What was the hardest part and how did you overcome it?
Ooh, hardest part. I just say getting used to the scheduling, really. I mean, you go from being a daytime worker, being up at 6 a.m., going till 4, and then you get to school, or at least when I got to school, it was 10 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Right.
So we went from being day guys to night guys and hitting up that Mexican restaurant at the end of the street there.
Yeah, I think we definitely keep them guys in business being on third shift. I bet they're pretty sad we got rid of it. What advice would you give yourself looking back, knowing what you know now?
Use every minute you can and all the resources you got, like especially out there. I mean, I got I think 8 certs when I left. I got calls from companies now to this day that call me just to see where I'm at, if I'm willing to come back out into the field right now. They know that I'm not in the field, but they call me. I get one call a week.
Pretty nice when people want you.
Yeah, you don't got to make the effort as much to go call people.
It's a hard thing to describe to students that especially that are just leaving school, but I'll get them, hey, anybody looking for a helper? I'm like, well, no, not really, just for the simple fact that I'm not a helper, but I can make some phone calls for you. Or hey,
Right.
testing welders. Well, no, I haven't actually made a phone call in like 8 years. Everybody always just calls me.
Mm-hmm.
So once you get your name built up and out there, that's pretty nice feeling.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's good. Like when you get your name built up to a point where people are calling you for good things. I mean, they're not. Truthfully, you're not going to get a call back if you can't do your job, keep everyone safe, and keep a good work environment.
Right. What is the best advice you'd give to a new student just starting out?
Just work. If you're standing around, you ain't like gonna do nothing. You just work. Even if it's picking up a broom, paintbrush, even asking somebody, you got something for me to do, pick up rods. There's always something to do. Best advice, I'd say use your time wisely. I mean, I love welding. It's kind of like my niche. So I graduated in 3 months, but I knew a couple guys there that were there before I showed up and were there well after I left.
Yeah, it's because you kept your hood down and stayed after it.
Yeah, I mean, I was chasing the test, which I mean, I wanted to pass the test and be able to confidently say no matter where it was, I set my machine up, load up, and start welding.
Dude, yeah. What would you tell a person that was on the fence about coming to Western Welding Academy?
That's how you're gonna stay behind. Pull the trigger. I mean,
Yeah.
truthfully, Western gives you a head start, but you gotta choose a path, whether it is what you want to do or what you have to do. You gotta choose one because if you're
Yeah.
sitting on the fence, you ain't getting nowhere.
Yeah, I talked to a old student last night on my way home. He called me up, and I don't really know what he was looking for. It came down to he's back in his small hometown, and there was nothing. nothing to do. There was no money being made in this small town. He's like, dude, I'm about out of money. Like, there ain't nothing to do. And I'm like, well, where are you at? I'll try to find you a job or help you out best I can. He's like, oh, I'm in my hometown. I'm like, well, was there anything to do in your hometown when you left to come to welding school? He's like, well, no. I'm like, well, what made you think there'd be something there when you came back? I think the huge part of Western Welding Academy is that we are kind of out here in the middle of nowhere, so everybody's got to leave mommy and daddy.
Yeah, you really
And
do.
like, yeah, they're a phone call away and they could probably be here in a couple hours, but at the end of the day, like you're on your own. And
You got to go where the money is. Like the
yeah.
money's not gonna if you stay in your little podunk town that never had no money there to begin with, there ain't gonna be no money there when you come back.
Anything else you'd like to add?
Keep your hoods down and weld. That's about it. Look through that lens and live your life through that lens, whether that's personal life, home life, work life. I mean, if you can love what you do for work, it's not, you don't work a day in your life.
Well, shoot, yeah, bud. Well, I appreciate your time.
Always.
Yeah, stay in touch and don't be working too hard.